2026 is going to be an awesome year. We got some pretty cool stuff coming up. First off, we got Foundations of Recovery. This is our flagship program. We're starting it in January.
This is for anyone, man, woman, or couple who wants to come and reclaim their heart from shame, trauma, and betrayal. We start off with an education on all sorts of principles, give you the common language. We feed you from a fire hose in terms of all things recovery.
It is such a great start to recovery. And we get at the roots of things, Tyler. This isn't like any other program. Like, this is our healing journey in process, and Foundations is where we begin.
If you look at the value that you're getting there to kick off a good recovery with all of the right education, all of the right language, and a team to get you started while also being directed by Brannon and myself through the whole process, what a deal.
So if you're interested, if you're struggling, if you've been wanting to do something for a long time, jump into this. This only comes around every so often, and we would love to have you there.
Click the link in the description to sign up for it. And to make it even sweeter, we're also including a raffle for a free pass to the Radiant Dawn retreat. Anyone who signs up for Foundations will be added to the raffle for that free Radiant Dawn pass. If you're a man and you sign up for Foundations, your name still gets entered, and you can give that pass away if you win it to any woman that you want to.
So what you're saying, Tyler, is if you sign up and participate in Foundations, you could possibly go to Radiant Dawn for free?
That's exactly what I'm saying, which is crazy because Foundations by itself is already an insane value.
Man, I sound so salesy. But it actually is awesome. So come to Foundations. And even if you don't come to Foundations, sign up for Radiant Dawn. It's beyond therapy, the best healing experiences that you can have.
Click the link below and come join us.
What if my faith has shifted and it makes my partner uncomfortable?
Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers.
We're therapists.
And we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin.
Brannon, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little exhausted, but I got up and got some little bit of weightlifting in this morning, so I'm feeling alive now.
Good for you. That's great.
Yeah. How are you doing?
I hear in both of our voices, my voice is just barely hanging on. I almost lost it over the weekend with the retreat. And I can kind of hear it in yours too. Your voice is a little shakier than normal, and it's probably because of all of the talking and hooting and hollering that we did all weekend. But I'm feeling great. I got good night's rest, and I just feel so fulfilled. It's the funniest thing because... Oh, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask a stupid question, so go ahead.
You can ask your dumb question if you want.
I was going to ask you how you feeling about your Survivor horse that you picked.
I actually, yeah. So for our listeners, we actually every season of Survivor now, us as siblings get together, and we all kind of, on the very first episode, we pick our own, who we think is going to be the winner, and we throw in a little bit of money.
Our horse in the race.
Yeah. So I think I feel really good about my horse in the race because I can feel good about cheering for him.
I thought your pick was awful, but I was when you made it, I was like, that's quintessential Tyler.
Yeah, it fits me
because he's like the foster kid fighter. Like,
yeah, he's just the fighter that he probably won't win, but I'll at least have fun cheering for him. And it's funny that you say that because your pick, as soon as you picked your pick, I was like, that's a Brannon pick.
Yeah. And you know what's crazy is I usually win.
I don't think so. I don't think, you know who never wins is our brother Rex, and he always picks the same personality too.
Yeah, we know exactly what his type is.
He always picks like the villain. You know, the villain,
the villain hot girl,
the villain woman. Yeah. Like, yeah. And then they never win either. So, anyway,
we digress to Survivor.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So I just want to have a discussion with you, Tyler, about, it's something that I think comes up for us with our clients all the time. And I think it's really common, especially in today's day and age and a lot of things that are going on. it's about faith. It's about, you get into your life, midlife, whatever, your faith starts shifting, changing. And a lot of times with couples, navigating that faith change, it can be very difficult and very hard. And I just wanted to talk to you, Tyler, and maybe give some pointers, things to think about, ways to handle things so that couples can turn a faith expansion into a source of connection and not a source of disconnection.
Yeah, I think that's great, Brannon. You know, in our line of work, we do a lot. You know, we work both of our backgrounds kind of come from this idea of addiction, trauma, and then betrayal trauma, and then I would say down at the core it's shame. But the interesting thing about what we deal with is that, and I've long felt this for a long time in my career, is that when you have someone who's working to make changes in their lives, you know, especially when you talk about like the recovery principles that we talk about, almost always there's a parallel wrestle with faith as there is with the principles of recovery.
Yes.
And that wrestle with faith, I think you can't help but have some level of shifting and changing and growing if you're going to try to change other parts of your life, because a lot of what produces the outcomes in our life that we don't like is the way that we viewed ourselves in the context of our faith. And so if we're going to make changes in our lives towards something different with different outcomes, that would naturally mean that it would have to affect our beliefs about ourselves and everything else that goes along with it, which often ties itself back to faith.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it. Is addiction can really lead somebody to God if they're willing to work a recovery process. And as part of that, we talk about, Tyler, we talk about firing your God of shame, of fear, and finding a God of unconditional love, a God that will support your recovery. And it can put people into a state of crisis a little bit when they start to let go of this God that they've thought was God their whole life. And it's an awesome part of recovery. It's an awesome process that people go through. But it can be hard on a relationship. Now, there's the other side of it too, Tyler, with the partner, not the one struggling with the addiction. A lot of times, the hard crisis, the big thing in their life, it puts everything, up in the air and in question. And as the dust settles, they start to realize my belief in God, the way I've been worshiping, hasn't really helped me or been good for me. It's been a problem. And so then they can have a faith crisis and things can change and shift. And I think all that change and shifting is good. I think it's a awesome thing. But sometimes the partner will be threatened by that because the systems start to shift.
The system changes and the ground starts to feel unstable because I think, and this is just true, I mean, when we look at it, there's certain things inside of relationships that kind of help to anchor relationships together. If you're compatible sexually, that's one thing. A really, really big one is faith. If we're compatible in our faith, and if we actually come from the same faith, that is a factor in the research that says that that's going to help strengthen a relationship or help a relationship stay together. The challenge is that being human, every single person, and I think this is my own bias, Brandon, this is what I see in my practice, but it's also what I've experienced in my own life, is that for me, faith is a constantly changing cultivation, kind of a part of the life. And I think a lot of people look at faith and they say, I need to lock my faith in and then never change that because that'll provide me with some semblance of stability and security. And my own personal experience has been that when I've tried to live that way, that's led to a certain belief about a God that wasn't serving me and wasn't helping to produce good outcomes in my life. And what I've come to in my own life is that it feels like it needs to be the kind of situation where I'm going to get to wrestle, just like, I mean, Jacob became Israel, and what does Israel mean? Israel means one who wrestles with God. Like, it seems that a wholehearted life includes an ongoing wrestle with spiritual things.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I think this is where a couple things you said I want to address, but this is where we get it wrong a lot of times. And we think that faith is about just blind obedience. It's just do these things and that is faith.
And I would say, Brannon, as you're going, that while we're talking about faith, there's two ways to talk about it. There's the actual cultivation of faith, and then there's also faith as in my religious background.
Yeah. And I think separating those is important. Understanding the difference between those is important. So if I'm defining faith as blind obedience, then there's just a kind of one-stop shop, rigid way that it's just set in stone. It is what it is. Like you just do that. But when you shift out and you look at faith as through the lens of development, then it changes things. You look at faith through progress and development, and that means as I grow and as I get older and as I shift, then I'm constantly developing in my faith. And sometimes in a relationship, one person develops to a certain place and the other person in some ways does lag behind. And it's not bad that they're there. They just are there.
It just means there's now a new difference in the relationship.
It's now, and it creates a divide. And it's interesting what you said about compatibility, because I think we get compatibility all wrong in that we think when we first get in a relationship or whatever, it's, well, we have enough similar values and things we like and whatever, and that's compatibility. And compatibility actually isn't about that. And in a long-term relationship, as you mature, and if you're in a mature relationship that can actually develop like some amazing love, you start to really understand what differentiation is and start to value the differences between each other. And you're boundaried enough and know yourself enough that you can really value the difference of the other person. And so compatibility isn't about agreeing. Compatibility is about being strong enough, both partners, that they can tolerate the differences between each partner. And that's where the reason I bring this up is because that's where I've seen couples thrive with differences of faith, versus couples that like it causes all kinds of friction and problems.
I want to back up and just hit that word differentiation for a second so that our listeners can understand what you're saying a little bit better, Brannon, if that's okay. Differentiation is this idea that inside of a relationship, both partners know who they are and there's room for the other partner to be who they are.
Yes.
So
it's interdependency.
When I'm highly differentiated, I know my own belief system, I know my own values, and I can even set my own boundaries around those values, while at the same time not being threatened by the fact that there might be anybody, we're talking about partners, but it could be neighbors or friends or whatever else too, that the people around me might actually have a different set of beliefs and a different set of values and their own set of boundaries. And yet many times there's still room for us to still have some kind of an intimate relationship with each other if we can both be willing to know who we are and accept who you are. Right? That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. It can Tyler be a BYU fan, and can I be a Utah fan, and can we still love each other?
Yes, especially if I know what it's like to be a BYU fan. You know what it's like to be a Utah fan. And we know what it's like to let that cross over into an unhealthy place. So we set certain boundaries about how we feel about those things, and we have certain conversations that line up with those boundaries, and then it allows us to get along just fine with each other.
I could, but even take that a step further. Like I could go further into empathy and compassion and like really understand what it's like for you to be a BYU fan and still be a Utah fan, right? Like, do you see the example here? Like, it's like, wow, I see your heart. I know you. I love you, and I'm not cheering for BYU this weekend.
Yeah,
right?
I
Do you see
really
what I'm
hope.
saying?
Yeah, like this is the weekend where BYU just dominated Kansas State, which was the 13th ranked team in the nation. And
Right?
I'm over here celebrating it, and you're over there going like, "Dang it."
No, the old me would have been dang it, but
No,
I'm
no, but
actually
I think when we get to like this idea though, when we get into faith, faith is something that is so deeply personal. It's even more personal for most people than BYU Utah is.
right. I'm just
It's
using this example of how different you can be and still understand and love each other and see each other.
and creating space, and what you were saying, Brandon, and creating the space for that inside of the relationship actually has the potential of building trust and intimacy in certain ways. If we can both hold that with one another and meet one another with
It
curiosity, compassion, tolerance, love, and seeking understanding.
it's the best intimacy because it's I love you even though you're different. Like I care about you. I'm not threatened by you. And so you're safe to be you when you're in a relationship with me. And I can hold that space, and that's okay. Now, I realize we're simplifying this way too much because when you bring religion and things into play, you're bringing in the whole culture of the family, the practices, the even thoughts about eternal families and eternal salvation come into
Yes.
play in terms of being threatening. Like I might lose all of those things if your faith wavers. So it's really hard to be a partner that can just hold space and then vice versa. The other person maybe who has left a religion, is like, well, why are you stuck in a religion or this or that? So it's really hard to be that partner on that side of things to actually hold space in a loving, kind way.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, part of the process of the wrestle with faith, the reason I use the word wrestle is because it's not this like, for most people, it's not this calm like epiphany that happens one day. It's like, oh, maybe I could think about something differently here, or
No,
oh,
that's not how it
it's
goes.
it's not. It's actually more of of an emotionally violent process for most people. Um, and that's why I call it the wrestle. I think that's why it's beautiful. Why Israel is one who wrestles with God. It's not, he didn't go and be like, hey, God, like, let's have a cool conversation. It's like there's an actual wrestle that goes on constantly. And I think that's one thing that seems to be with the couples that I work with, the couples that seem to navigate this the best is they start to view the individual process of faith as necessary to wrestle with those things for each individual. Where people get tripped up a lot, it seems, is that I have my own beliefs, and then I feel like, because for whatever reason I have to make sure that I influence those people important to me to have the same beliefs. And that's where we're crossing over on that boundary of doing the wrestle for someone else that they need to do for themselves. And
Yeah.
and I would say this, like, even personally, Brannon, I happen to be someone who's kind of, and this is just my own personal journey, but I've kind of gone almost full circle with my own, say, religious beliefs, where I was raised with a certain code, and that certain code was dispersed in a certain way where I believed in a God that was going to be punitive and punishing unless I was perfect. And then I've since been on this kind of own personal journey of wrestle where I've sort of redefined my relationship with God, and I even kind of started to want to go away from my faith. But eventually, some of the principles of the faith that I was taught with now sit differently on my heart, but they feel more true because they're personal now.
Right. You can hear the progression and the growth and the development in
The
what you
wrestle
just
with
said.
the wrestle with me and God has now gone to a spot where it's like I like certain things inside my religion that sometimes cause problems for people, like tithing, let's say. I choose to do a tithing now because my heart has wrestled with God and it feels right to do that, rather than, oh, I better do that so God won't be mad at me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's shifted,
Same
but
religion, different way of worshiping, different
in a certain
beliefs,
sense,
different God.
same religion, different God.
Yeah.
And I would say what feels like a more authentic, real God that produces better fruits. And someone else might have a different wrestle and go to a whole new different set of principles or ideas or even a completely different religion. And I happen to personally believe that as long as they do their individual wrestle with faith and they accept that there will be an individual wrestle, then whatever they settle on feels more convicted and more true, which is going to produce different fruit than just having been compelled to do something without ever having the conviction of it.
Coercion is not faith. It's not faith. And so what you're saying, I like what you're saying. Wherever you end up, if you're in that wrestle with God, and if you follow truth and your integrity, then I believe that's good too, right? Wherever you end up. But if you're being forced and controlled into something, then you're going to lose your heart. And it happens in a marriage too, where it's like, hey, here I am in a marriage and I'm acting one way and feeling forced because my spouse will be mad if I'm not honest and if I'm honest and open about who I am, and so it's really helpful for each partner to have a spirit of curiosity and compassion and not coercion, like trying to understand your wrestle and knowing that that's between you and God, and not you and God, and then I'm going to actually tell you what you actually have to do. But backing off and trusting that they get to have their process and God has them.
That's right. And that's where the overlap between those two things happens, where I am going to have a certain set of values and boundaries, but I'm also going to try to approach and for me, and this is one of the values and boundaries, I guess, is that I value my ability to make choice at such a high premium that I should afford that to everybody else the same. Right. So now if my partner comes to me and says, hey, I'm really struggling with this or this principle, I'm going to lean into that with, tell me more. I want to understand it. What's that like for you? How is that wrestle going? Rather than, no, you better not think that, because that would mean this or that or the other. What I'm now doing is I'm actually not valuing their choice the same way that I would value my own. Now, if they choose to go and do something else that doesn't line up with, like, let's just say, this would be an easy one. I believe we should tithe. My partner doesn't believe we should tithe. Now that's a real hard spot, because
your money's tied together.
Yeah, that's all tied together. Now we're going to have to wrestle to try to figure out how to make that work between us, or that might be something that doesn't work between us.
I actually don't think it's that hard. I think if you can love each other and have curiosity, like let's take the tithing one, for example. Maybe we role play this out, Tyler. Let's say you're the partner that wants to pay tithing, and I'm not, right? So we have this discussion. We get into this discussion, and if I'm staying true and I'm not just giving in out of fear, like, okay, you're not going to like me you can get to a place of understanding and you can work things out. All right, let's pay the 5% for you, and I'm going to put that 5% somewhere else for me, right? Like, why is that so hard?
Because it's not 10%.
Because it's a should. There's an agreement, right?
Yeah, or it's I think this is where the emotion of things get wrapped up for a lot of people, that causes it to be bigger, right? Because if I come to you and I role play with you, Brannon, I can say, here's the role play would be, here's the reasons why I feel really convicted that I want to pay my tithing, and I explain all of that to you, and then you come back to me and you say, I can see that, Tyler. I'm glad that you want to live according to your faith. I want to support you in that. I really appreciate that you can bring those things to me, and I understand that. Mm-hmm. And here's the reasons why I don't want to. You line out all those reasons, and then I can go, I see that. I can see why that's a wrestle for you, and I can see why it would feel kind of those ways when I want to do this, and that makes sense to me too. How do we now bridge the gap?
Right.
Like that's
how do we compromise?
That's
how
the
do we work together
way of approaching it.
And when we work together toward a positive thing.
When it's not interdependent, what it turns into is that now I feel threatened and you feel threatened, and we both feel misunderstood.
You have to force and control.
Then it turns into power and control.
Yeah.
because we're both, but that's now based off of usually fear.
That's where the power and that's where the control comes in every single time.
Is fear.
Right? You could take anything from like, okay, I'm a partner that doesn't want to go to church. You're a partner that wants to take the kids to church. Same principle, but the problem is there's a lot of like, I'll add in pride too. It's not just fear on both ends of the spectrum. You're crazy, you're stupid for wanting this, and I'm the right one with the right truth over here on this side or the other, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I think if you apply a little bit of humility and a little bit of love and compassion, you can get to a place that's awesome to work together to respect each other. But you got to put the pride down. You got to put the fear down in order for that to actually happen.
I think one way that my therapy training has kind of helped me with this principle is in that idea, and I talk about it all the time, Brannon, so bear with me, but the idea of dialectics is that when I'm able to talk to anybody who brings up anything that is going to go probably against the grain of what I believe, if I'm on my A game, I can always ask the question to myself, what are the principles of truth that I'm hearing this person speak? And if I actually have eyes to see it and ears to hear it, you can almost always find the kernel of truth, even if you don't agree with everything that's been said.
Right.
And if the starting point then is, here's the kernel of truth that I can see and feel and hear you with, and I actually agree with, that's going to be much more likely to bring us together to have an actual effective discussion than for me to say, yeah, all that stuff that you said was just garbage. I don't agree with you at all.
Yeah, like if the tithing thing, like if I came to you and I was like, well, you're just brainwashed and stupid and what are you doing and blah, blah, blah. Like it's so dumb,
Yeah.
Versus like, whoa, like I appreciate that you're a person that wants to love God and wants to sacrifice. Like, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah, you found the kernel of truth.
So you start there and then you can work together. And on the other end of things, maybe it's, I appreciate you're a person who wants to wrestle with God and doesn't want to just go along with whatever and wants to really feel this out, whether it's right for you or not. Like, that's awesome. Yeah. So then you're both at this, that's awesome place. That's really cool. But what we do here, it conflicts in our marriage with this thing. But now I feel loved and seen by you. I feel like you've been curious. So I want to support you, and I feel like you want to support me. So let's figure out some solutions here.
And then what happens inside of the relationship is, based on, we've described this in the past, but that idea of the Hebrew translation of help me, it is one who pushes against. Now all of a sudden our individual wrestles with God and with faith push against one another, and as a result both of us learn and grow.
Yeah.
There's fertile soil for the growth process and the continued wrestle when it's approached that way.
Yep. And it's beautiful. That's where a relationship actually helps one another get closer to God in that differentiated place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did we figure it all out, Tyler?
we might have just talked ourselves in a circle, Brannon.
Yeah. I just think we underestimate the importance of spirituality when it comes to intimacy in a relationship. And it's so beautiful when people get to explore and figure things out in that space. And a relationship is an asset for that. And it's so difficult to see when a relationship is a liability, when a relationship, it just gets in the way of progression for one partner or the other in terms of spirituality.
Yeah. Well, and I'd say that principle probably goes, I'm thinking of attachment theory right now, Brannon, and even broader than spirituality, even though it's included in it, is when we're securely attached to one another, that means I know you're there for me, I'm there for you, you know that. That allows both of us permission to go and explore the world around us a little bit more, knowing that we have a home base that we can land on and press against when we're done.
Yeah.
And when that happens, that actually is where creativity happens. That's where shame resiliency happens. That's where growth happens, is that because now I can go out and explore those parts of the world, knowing that I have a safe space to land.
Yeah.
And the safe space to land is what you're talking about. It's curiosity, it's compassion, it's understanding, and it's permission for both of us to be our own people, making our own choices.
Yep. Yep. That is healthy attachment, what you're describing. And we're all striving for that. And some are like really strong and can do that, and some really struggle with it.
Yep.
Depending on their trauma or shame or whatever it is.
That's right.
Well, Tyler, this has been a good discussion.
Yeah. Hopefully it's valuable for somebody.
Yeah. Hopefully it leads to somebody or a couple sitting down and saying, "Hey, we've been doing this kind of wrong. Like, let's try that. Let's try a different way." It's gonna be a struggle. It's gonna be hard, but like, I'm not gonna force and control you, and hopefully you don't force and control me. Let's come to the table honest and open.
Yeah, I would just, I'm having a thought go through my head about a book to recommend called, it's a non-denominational book, but it's about faith, and it's called Deep and Simple by Bo Lozoff. And I love the approach that goes on inside of that book of how he approaches his own sort of like exploration of faith. And so anyway,
Cool.
thanks,
Nice.
Brannon.
Yeah. If you guys have liked this episode or this topic, we'd love to hear more about it. Leave us a review. You can ask us questions about it. And until next time, keep on keeping on.